I don't know how this happened or what has happened to the real me. All I can do is explain from the beginning and hope someone will believe me. A few days ago, I awoke, but not like any other way I had felt when waking up before. I didn't know where I was. I felt completely different than I ever have, and I don't even remember going to sleep. In fact, the last thing I remember was being at a dinner party. I was trying to make small talk and guzzling down those bacon-wrapped little smokies. My boss has these dinner parties so he can tell us stories and force us to listen. He was in the middle of the one about how he was almost trapped in a cave that collapsed. He was at the part where he says, we could feel the ground shaking beneath our very own feet, and we could also see the walls cracking with our own eyes. And suddenly a giant... Alan interrupted with the longest fart. The room fell silent. Alan is my coworker and best friend, and he has always had a knack for doing the worst things at the worst times. It's not funny now, but at the time, it was the only funny thing to happen in hours. And when I laughed, a little smoky shot to the back of my throat, and then it all gets kind of hazy from there. I'm just trying to explain the last events I can recall from my normal life, my actual life. Then the next thing I know is I'm waking up, but at first I couldn't open my eyes. I tried to yell for help, but I couldn't open my mouth either. I was trapped in my body, or at least in this moment. I thought it was my body. Suddenly one of my eyes flung open, kind of like blinds being yanked upwards, but the other eye only opened part way. I tried to look around, but I couldn't move them. I still can't really control them. And I tried to turn my head, but my neck was so stiff and inflexible. I couldn't move my head really at all, but I was finally able to force my body upwards to a sitting position. I could see, but barely had any control of it. When I realized I couldn't control my eyes, all I could move was my body. I twisted to see around the room and was horrified to find I had no idea where I was, but I was even more horrified when I came upon a mirror. I tried to blink. I strained my eyes, trying to see more clearly. I moved from side to side to see if the image in the mirror moved with me. To my horror, it did. The face, the body I am in, is not me. I'm a person I've never seen, and I look like I'm barely awake. I look like a person that is sleepwalking. I tried to scream. I struggled to barely open my mouth. Then, as the noise finally came out of me, everything in my vision faded. Then, there was nothing. I awoke again, from nothing to a fog that cleared quickly. This time I was on a couch. I felt a sense of urgency, but my motions were clumsy. I swung my body up to get to my feet, and I trudged my way forward toward a door. I made my way down a hallway to a staircase. As I rounded the corner, a woman was coming up the steps. I ran into her. She gasped, then looked at me in a strange way, like confused and concerned and irritated all at once. "Are you alright, Dan?" she asked. "Who the hell is Dan?" "I'm not Dan. I'm not Dan," I screamed in my head, over and over. But this isn't even in my head. I don't belong in this body. Urgh! Was the only noise I managed to get out of this body prison my mind is trapped in. Am I dead? She was horrified. Not only am I unable to speak, but my eyes are only about half open and one of my arms is completely useless, just flailing around. Also, I've just become aware that my mouth has been agape this entire time, and I don't even have enough control of my facial motor skills to close it. I pushed past her and stumbled down the steps and out the door. I stumbled my way along the city street, quickly but swerving from side to side. The lights spread across my entire field of vision and hurt my eyes. People who passed me on the sidewalk have a look of horror on their faces. I stumbled and ran into a group of people, then fell to the ground. That night, the look on their faces was the last thing I saw. When I awoke again, or returned to consciousness, I was on the bed that I was on before. I began to weep. This nightmare won't end. I am trapped in the body of someone else, a body I barely control. I don't know when I'll fade out or return, or if I'll return. And what happened to my body, my life, the rest of what makes me me? I'm barely anything. I move to get up out of this bed, frustrated as much as terrified with the reality that I'm trapped, alone, possibly forever. I swung my body up and turned toward the side, but my momentum was yanked back. My arm is tied to part of the backboard of the bed. This is when I was becoming certain that I am in fact sharing this body with someone. I was only tied to one side of the bed, so I moved to that side to untie myself. I began to think about what this man that my mind is occupying must be thinking. I suppose he thinks he is sleepwalking. Is this what it means to possess someone? Is it the case that every time someone is sleepwalking, it's really that they are being temporarily possessed while their mind sleeps? I wonder if he dreams while I take control of his body. I was able to untie myself. Thankfully, my hands are functioning more deliberately. Then I noticed his desk on this side of the room. His laptop was open. So, I've created this account to reach out to anyone who may be able to help me. My real name is Scott Trimple. I live in Worcester, Massachusetts, but I have found out the man I am trapped in is named Daniel Sanderson in Chicago, Illinois. If you can find my best friend, Alan Drames, I know I can prove it is me in here. I hope. I need anyone who can help get me out of here. My consciousness or my soul or whatever it is. Please find out what has happened to my body. You're my only hope. Dan doesn't know about this account. I don't know if I should try to let him know about me or not. How would I react to something this crazy? Anyway, you can contact me here. I don't know when I'll be able to get back. To respond, I'm typing frantically because I can feel myself fading. Please help me.